Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, as-salatu was-salam ala Rasul al-Kareem, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh, and welcome to Fiqh al-Muamalat online classes. And today's topic is basically the terminations of the offer and acceptance, or the termination of the contract before its enforcements in the stage of offer and acceptance. So we'll be covering basically the termination of the offer and acceptance and the clauses that terminate or contribute to the termination of the offer and acceptance. Here we are talking about the engagements of the two contracting parties in the stage of issuing the offer and acceptance, and in that stage of discussions or a process of connectivities between the offer and acceptance, contract could be terminated. Here we are talking about the termination of the contract from the angles of the offer and acceptance precisely. So there are a few clauses that contribute to the termination of the offer and acceptance, and as a result of that, of course, the contract will be terminated before its enforcement on the two contracting party and before it takes its effect on the subject matter. The first one, revoke back the offer before the acceptance is issued. Meaning that a person, which is in the case the seller, issue the offer, I hereby sold this car to you, or I hereby sold this mobile to you with 1,000 ringgit, Malaysia ringgit, or 1,000 US dollars or euro, it depends on the value of this mobile. So I hereby sold this mobile to you with 1,000. And before the buyer issue his acceptance, whereby he will say, yes, I hereby accept buying the said mobile with the said amount. Before that, so the sellers will pull back, revoke back his offer and cancel the offer before the acceptance has been issued. So meaning that, in other words, he changed his mind. So I hereby sold you this mobile with 1,000 ringgit. Then after that, no, I don't want to sell for whatever reason. So he changed his mind and pulled back the asset, pulled back the offer, revoked back the offer before the acceptance has been issued. Here we have a small discussions, a more different school of law, whereby in the view of the Maliki school of law, basically the offeror who issued the offer will lose his ownership over the offer from the standpoint of the Maliki school of law, which means that in case the seller says, I hereby sold this mobile to you, so basically he lost the ownership on the offer and he has no right to revoke back the offer, and it is up to the buyer whether he will confirm and conform the the offer by issuing his acceptance, or decline or revoke back. So but the offeror, or the sellers in this case, he has no right on the offer. In the view of the Maliki school of law, he has the right to revoke back the contract only in the case that the expressions or the offer has been issued by using the present participle. If he use this tense, if he use the verb, if he has expressed his offer through the present participle, so he has the right to revoke back the contract, and it is a verb that normally in English will end with ing. We call it al-mudari' al-mustamir in Arabic. So in case, for example, the seller will say, I'm selling this mobile to you. So in that kind of situation and context, in the view of the Maliki school of law, so he has the right to revoke back the contract, but if it has been issued with the past tense, which has a very clear confirmation and a clear status of an engagement to dispose the asset from its ownership, he has no right to revoke back the contract. And again, this is in the view of the Maliki school of law. However, in the view of the majority of the scholars, the sellers has the right to revoke back the contract, basically with no restrictions, as long the other party did not basically issue his acceptance, meaning he still have ownership over the offer. And even the contract itself is concluded, as we have discussed previously in the previous sessions, that in the case of the offer and acceptance has been concluded, it is not binding. Only in the view of the Maliki scholars that the contract will be concluded and binding, but in the view of the majority of the scholars, the contract will be concluded but not binding because of the khayar and majlis, the options of the sessions of the contract. So this is the first one, meaning that revoke back the offer before the what's so called acceptance is issued, so the contract will be terminated. Second one, rejection of the offer, meaning the offer has been issued but rejected directly or indirectly. I hereby sold you this mobile with 1,000, then the buyer say, I'm not interested, it is too expensive. So it's the rejection of the offer. Or indirectly, the seller will say, I hereby sold this mobile to you with 1,000. Then the buyer will tell him, you know, when is the next holiday, or when is next Shariah, or you know, are you free, for example, to join us for a sport game in the weekend. The point is that instead of issuing an acceptance, he will engage the seller into a different and strange conversations, has nothing to do with the offer. This is a kind of a decline, indirect decline of the offer. So either you reject the offer directly or you reject it indirectly. And the other one is the end of the session of the meeting, meaning that we are in the conversations, we are in the negotiations, you issue the offer, and before the other one issue the acceptance, or even before one of them issue the offer, so they will separate from each other and the session of the meeting is over. So as a result of that, so whatever offer has been issued will be terminated. So because contract is not concluded and due to contracting parties separated, so contract is terminated, which means that in case there is a negotiations, let's say on a mobile, and he will say, well, I hereby sold this mobile to you with 1,000, and there is no response, conversation, they separated from each other. From Sharia standpoint, contract is terminated. Now, if you go back, meaning if the buyer goes back to the seller and ask him, hey, can you just bring that mobile that we talk about in just a moment, then he issue, then the buyer, the seller has the right to change the price, meaning he cannot tell me, I need this price with 1,000, because the seller is not bound to stick to the same offer, because previous contract and previous session of the contract has been terminated. So he has the right to engage into a kind of different negotiations. Of course, if you want to maintain the price, fine, we're not talking about that, but I'm talking about the obligations and the commitment of the early contract and the offer and accepted and its connection to the second offer and acceptance. There is no connections because the previous one has been terminated, and the seller has the right to engage into new negotiations because he's not bound. He's not bound on the previous or to follow the previous negotiations where contract is no more valid. So end of the session of the contract, meaning that we are in a discussions that somehow someone left the session of the contract as a result of that. So basically the offer and acceptance are terminated. The following clause is basically losing the legal capacity and the legal competency of one of the two contracting party or both of them. Like someone become incompetent in that kind of environment. For example, let's say they are talking and discussing offer and acceptance, and somehow the weather was a bit hot, or they were in aircon, the aircon went off, then the room became warm, then the guy, he became dizzy, he cannot focus, you know, he lost his sanity or offended or whatever, something happened to him. that may contribute that he's not in a good state of mind, he's not in a good what's so-called status to make decisions. So as a result of that, so again, the offer and acceptance and the contract will be terminated because one of them is not in position to proceed with the contract in a competency status. And the last one is basically the destroy of the asset before the acceptance and the delivery. We are talking about this mobile, then we say I would like to sell you this mobile, then after what's so called a tendency to close the deal, so he said, okay, fine, I hereby sold you this mobile with 1,000, and before the other guy issue his acceptance and close the deal, so the mobile falls from his hand on the floor, broken. So basically asset is destroyed, offer acceptance terminated. As long as this asset is concerned, of course, you may move to a different asset, you may move to a different negotiations, but we are talking about the offer and acceptance and the negotiation of specific deal on the subject matter that has been destroyed, and as a result of that, the contract will be terminated. So this is the, I may say, the 5 important clauses which are related to the offer and acceptance that if it triggers, it may contribute to the termination of the contract, and briefly they are revocations of the offer before the issuance of the acceptance, rejections of the offer directly or indirectly, and end of the sessions of the meeting or the contract, and losing the legal competency of one of the two contracting party or both of them, and the destroy of the asset before the acceptance is issued. With that, thank you very much and see you inshallah soon, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.